Hello again and welcome back to the Daily Rundown with me, Dan Morfitt. Now, Ashley Talbot is a usual guest here on the Daily Rundown and also a presenter, a writer and a bass player.
Yes.
With Dead Pixel.
Yeah.
I always like mentioning that.
It's me again.
And now a panellist for the Pilot Light TV Festival. So I've been wanting to ask this for a long time. What's it all about, Ashley?
Well, it's not a festival for TV pilots. It's called the Pilot Light. It's a festival of television, basically. So there's a couple of premiere type things of series made in Britain and one from America, which is jolly good. And some older stuff as well, some like retrospectives with like a discussion from the cast in some cases, or so for example, did you see many years ago Nathan Barley?
Yes, Charlie Brooker's Nathan Barley.
Charlie Brooker and Chris Morris did Nathan Barley, which is excellent. But so there's a screening of several episodes of that with some of the members of the cast, and because it was 10 years ago and it's all media savvy and twittery and stuff, and basically the theme of the discussion is how the nightmare came true, essentially. So
how did it go from like the first idea and a TV pilot? What is a TV pilot? Explain what that is.
Well, a pilot is the opening episode, the pitch, essentially. So when you make a potential episode for television, you make one episode and then you hawk it around to your channels of choice and say, hey, look, I made an episode. Take this thing. And sometimes that goes out as is and they just add a more series to it, and sometimes they completely redo it and it all goes out. Anyway, so a pilot is the idea, the sort of proof of concept. So I think that's part of the name. Obviously it is, I know it's getting into spring, but it is generally cold in Manchester and we do need to keep the pilot light on.
So this is happening in Manchester, which is now sort of the second place where TV is happening in the UK.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it is very much a localised festival. However, it's got stuff in it from all over the world, and Runcorn.
and Runcorn.
And Runcorn. So you like zombies, don't you, Dan?
I love zombies.
Zombies are awesome, right? So there's a new a pilot, a screening of this, a new series called Dead Town, which is set in Runcorn. And it's a nice British cheerful zombie apocalypse series. So again, that's one of the things that's there.
Is that because Widnes was too busy?
I guess, yeah, so they needed to do something to get rid of it. Or maybe it's just all the chemicals and stuff, just that's what made the zombies. I don't know, maybe that's a plot point. So,
and are you being on this panel for
yes.
The festival, does that mean you're passing judgment on them, or does that mean you're introducing them to everybody else?
Well, the panel that I'm involved in is for a web series. So it's out there right now. It's called Her Story, and it's kind of groundbreaking, very highly regarded series about queer and trans women and their sort of dating. It's only sort of short episodes. So it's a screening of that, because this is quite a successful web series about, perhaps underrepresented, perhaps marginalised group of people, which is being led and developed and written and acted in by people from that community, specifically by, actual trans people, which is, even that is an astonishing step forward and warrants a panel discussion.
And because I know recently on BBC Two there's been Boy and Girl, and I think they're
Boy Meets Girl?
Boy Meets Girl, is it?
Yes.
And they're getting a second series already and stuff?
Yeah, so second series, the filming is underway, and so that's being broadcast in September on BBC Two. There's also things from America, there's things like I Am Kate, about Caitlyn Jenner, and I Am Jazz, about Jazz Jennings, who is a younger person who is, slightly more on point than Caitlyn Jenner.
I think if they need to come up with new titles, just I Am Kate and I Am Jazz.
Yeah, well, I Am Ashley.
Doesn't really differentiate.
Doesn't mean I get a TV show all for myself, apart from this one sometimes. But so with this, I guess, upswing, we might say, in visibility around a certain sort of person, transgender people, because for many years it has kind of been secretive, in the shadows, marginalised, and you saw a trans person on television when they were the butt of a joke, when they were sort of a punchline, or they were there to sort of die tragically, That's how it's been for quite a while, and the fact that that's now changing. And there's this festival that's taking place, which is pretty mainstream. It's organised by a university in several venues, that is saying, okay, let's have this as part of our discussion. That's okay, good, fine. Let's let's have these conversations and let's talk about that upswing in visibility and its
And
the good things in there.
With this pilot festival and with trans TV programs, it's not just sitcoms, it's not just reality TV shows, it's the full gamut.
It is, yeah. There's a lot of different stuff being premiered at the festival. So in addition to the panel discussion that I'm involved in about this web series, Her Story, which everybody should check out. It's really good. It's very insightful. I'm just plugging it there. I didn't make it, but it's really good. So watch it, everybody. But there's also, there's, as I mentioned, there's the zombie film. Mm-hmm. There's a screening and discussion surrounding an old BBC documentary called The War Game. Have you heard of that one?
No.
Okay, so it was about nuclear war, and it was actually banned for sort of 30 years up until the 1980s because it was pretty visceral. Now I've seen it previously, and for the 1960s, for the BBC making a speculative fiction thing about nuclear war, it's pretty grim. And
by the sounds of it, it sounds worse than Threads.
It's on the same level. It's that kind of, and it's from the 60s. You know, it is really genuinely quite shocking. So that's part of what's happening. But conversely, you know, and a bit more light-heartedly, I suppose, David Hasselhoff's new series. Are you aware of this?
Is this on Dave?
I'm not sure. It's made and set in England. So David Hasselhoff, who is playing this, I guess, inflated Alan Partridge version of himself, has moved to England to try and become a star man, a star celebrity again. And it's apparently very funny in a the thick of it sort of way. So
it's called Hoff the Record.
Yes, it is.
Which, like most British TV shows, they go for the pun first.
Straight away, yeah.
And then try and work the show around it.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, okay, let's make a show called this. All right, wouldn't it be great if we could actually get David Hasselhoff? Oh my God, he said yes.
So he's got to be...
No, unfortunately, he's not there. Don't be silly.
I've met him before.
Oh yeah?
He's terribly tall.
Really?
And I would have loved to have popped a mint in his mouth.
And did you just want to hassle the Hoff?
No, I just want him to leave me alone.
Oh, really?
He was promoting his daughter's musical exploits.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean...
They weren't very good.
Okay, well, never mind.
No offence, Hoff. I don't think he matters.
It's a good job
he doesn't care.
It's a good job that he's not in the city this weekend, because I imagine he might have sought you out.
Yeah, David Hasselhoff will drive in the Kit 2000 round here right now going, I've been watching the Daily Rundown. Don't know if that's his accent. So,
well, we'll find out by watching the show, of course.
Yeah.
So, as well as it being premiered at the Pilot Light Festival, that's a show that's going to be, again, it's a web series. But there's something interesting here, because this is a festival where it's something that's television, which is television, it's what we're doing right now. But a lot of the things that it's showcasing are very easily available. Some of them are quite old, and the newer ones are all very, as I say, easily available on them interwebs.
Well, that's the thing. It's a Pilot Light Festival, but it's not just about TV pilots, because people are consuming what they watch in loads of different ways. And I'm on Netflix, and I've seen there's a new sitcom on there which hasn't been promoted, and they won, I think, a New York TV Festival award, and they got the Netflix
gig
platform because of it. So do you think that's the way we're going? Because
yes,
if you're watching this show right now live or on the repeat in the morning, brilliant. But most people are watching on demand now.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think that's the way the wind's blowing, I think, because there's the on-demand services. You've got Netflix, you've got Amazon Prime. Excuse me. I know the BBC and their iPlayer service. There's been sort of hints, rumblings, whispers, perhaps, that they're sort of rethinking how they do their on-demand service.
BBC Three's on demand now.
Yeah, exactly. So. And lots of people are like, well, I'm not going to bother paying for the license fee because I will go online and do it. So there's a gap, essentially. And so the heavy hitters, the people that have got the money to throw at television shows to make really good quality stuff, are not putting that stuff online. Or if they are, it's not there for necessarily for very long, although Channel 4 is something different. Everything that gets broadcast on Channel 4 goes up on the on-demand service, doesn't it? And it stays there. I do think that's kind of the way forward, and it is going to be interesting to see how it develops over the next
It's got to change
few
the dynamics of TV shows, because instead of sort of getting to know a show and tuning in every week at the same time, a lot of people just binge now. So that has to be thought of in the process of a pilot, because a pilot's a taster, isn't it?
Yeah, so
But
you have to
sometimes
make it want more.
Yeah, it has to be more-ish for you to go back and back. So that's going to be interesting at the festival. Have you got any details of the festival, a website, or what's happening with your days?
Well, it's pilotlightfestival.co.uk. It's on Twitter at Pilot Festival. I think it's all basically around the Pilot Light Festival. But again, people are finding things out and consuming things in different ways. So if you just put Pilot Light Festival into your preferred search engine of choice,
Yes.
then I imagine you will find the result. But it's happening all this weekend. But I think as well they're widening the net by recording and streaming perhaps some of the sessions as well. So that will all be.
Which used to be terribly intricate and annoying, but now you can basically just put a phone up and put it on Facebook Live or
Yeah, that's
Periscope,
it. GoPro.
and it's completely different.
Periscope, that's another. Sorry.
And Her Story as well. How can you watch that online?
That's on YouTube, Her Story. So it's a fascinating little series. There are several episodes of it already, and it's obviously there's more in the pipeline. But it just, for me, it was all just like, wow, this is great. Finally, you see something accurate and kind of meaningful on television rather than just, tragedy magnets and pretty dresses, I suppose.
Well, Ashley, thank you for coming in to talk about the Pilot Light Festival.
My pleasure.
Good luck on the panel and with the web series as well.
It's not mine, but thank you.
I'll give you credit anyway. Pass it on to them.
I'll take it.
Right, Maddie and Stephen will be back next with something to say each. Expect it to be mildly explosive or utterly compelling, like an indoor firework used correctly by trained individuals. The Daily Rundown continues in a bit. Stick around.